British manners were once admired across the world. They weren't written rules or forced behaviors. They were simply how life was lived. From the gentle tip of a hat to the careful ritual of afternoon tea, these manners were part of everyday British identity. They connected people, showed respect, and created a society where everyone understood their role and responsibilities. But somewhere between the 1950s and today, something quietly changed. Those unspoken rules, those small gestures of courtesy, began to fade, like old photographs left too long in the sun. Today, we're traveling back through time to rediscover the British manners that have almost disappeared. The ones your parents and grandparents lived by. The ones that once made Britain feel unmistakably British. Standing for women. Picture a 1950s sitting room. When a woman entered, every man stood up immediately. Not to impress, not to perform, but because that was simply what decent men did. Fathers taught their sons this behavior at an early age, practicing it until it became instinct. The message was clear without a single word spoken. I see you. I respect you. You matter. This courtesy extended everywhere: buses, cinemas, offices, and trains. Men stood until women were seated comfortably. Elderly gentlemen offered seats even after long days of work. Women never had to ask. Respect was automatic, and society functioned on that shared understanding. Today, this simple courtesy has almost entirely disappeared. The lost art of letter writing. In post-war Britain, letter writing followed strict traditions. Homes kept special writing paper, matching envelopes, and fountain pens. Every word was chosen carefully. Handwriting mattered, because it reflected character. Opening a letter incorrectly or using the wrong greeting could become a remembered social mistake. Thank you notes were not optional. They were essential. Birthday gifts, wedding presents, weekend visits, all required thoughtful letters of appreciation. Mothers kept notebooks tracking who gave what, and whether proper thanks had been sent. People genuinely worried about getting it right. Courtesy wasn't rushed. It was practiced with care. Hat etiquette and quiet signals of respect. Hats weren't fashion accessories. They were part of social language. Men owned different hats for different occasions and knew exactly when and how to tip them. A slight lift of the brim. A gentle nod. Too early looked arrogant. Too late appeared rude. Indoors, hats came off immediately. In shops, lifts, restaurants. Forgetting could earn a stern lecture that lasted all the way home. These rules weren't random. Everyone understood their meaning without explanation. Queuing, a national discipline. The British queue was more than a line. It was a symbol of fairness. During rationing years, people waited patiently for hours without complaint. Everyone knew their place. Cutting in line brought instant correction from strangers. Elderly or unwell people were quietly allowed forward without resentment. This wasn't weakness. It was collective strength, a shared sense of justice. Table manners at home. Family meals followed strict routines. No one touched food until everyone was served. Elbows stayed off the table. Napkins on laps. Cutlery used correctly. Children learned patience, discipline, and respect at the dinner table. Food was never wasted. Talking with a full mouth was unthinkable. Even accidental mistakes required apologies. Meals weren't just about eating. They were daily lessons in civilized behavior. Telephone etiquette. Answering the telephone required precision. You announced your number clearly. Business calls followed formal scripts. Conversations were brief and purposeful. Wrong numbers received polite apologies. Calls were planned in advance because every minute mattered. Even public phone boxes demanded courtesy, knowing others might be waiting. Doors, titles, and everyday awareness. Holding doors open was expected, not praised. People constantly checked behind them, ensuring no one was left struggling. Children never addressed adults by first names. It was always Mr., Mrs., Sir, or Miss. Titles weren't coldness, they were respect. Shopkeepers, doctors, teachers, everyone was addressed properly. Boundaries were clear, and society felt orderly because of it. Visiting someone's home. Visits were arranged in advance. Arriving early or late was equally rude. Guests waited to be seated. Compliments were polite, never excessive. Refreshments were always accepted. Visits had understood time limits. Leaving required polite signals from both guests and hosts. Nothing was rushed. Nothing was awkward. Manners on public transport. Buses and trains felt like small communities. Seats were offered without hesitation. Voices stayed low. Apologies were automatic. Conductors were thanked. Drivers were thanked. Fellow passengers were acknowledged. Public transport wasn't anonymous. It was shared space governed by mutual respect. A quiet loss. Looking back, it's striking how much has disappeared without us noticing. These weren't outdated customs or stiff traditions. They were the social glue that held communities together. The man standing for a woman. The child writing a thank you note. The gentleman tipping his hat. Small gestures, but together, they created a society built on dignity, respect, and consideration. And perhaps, remembering them is the first step toward bringing some of that spirit back.